एक word is important. Civil liability for nuclear damages Act 2010, if I remember it correctly. Each and every word is important in the act. Generally, whenever an act is named, lot of brainstorming happens. How to name it, what to name it, and all, right? So in this, there are different words. One is civil, second is liability, nuclear damages. Now, in this entire act, there is one big problem. Nobody has defined what is a nuclear damage. This is the biggest challenge of this act, because nobody has defined what is a nuclear damage. This is one problem of the act. See, understand, nuclear technology, whether it is for civilian purposes or for defense purposes, it has its own inherent advantages and disadvantages. The biggest advantage is that it is renewable in nature. That is one biggest advantage of nuclear energy. The biggest disadvantage is, if something goes wrong, there is no control button as such. And we have seen this in the Chernobyl incident, we have seen this in the Fukushima incident, we have seen this in other incidents that have happened around the world. Thankfully, luckily, we are lucky that in India nothing of that sort has happened. How many nuclear reactors are running in India as of now? 22. Around 22 of them are operational today. Right? Now, when we talk about a nuclear what we call liability, try to understand. See, we are dependent on the input of the nuclear material required for nuclear energy generation. With me, how many of you do not know this dimension? We are importing. Understand this. Most of the nuclear related material that we are using in the power generation is imported. Now, in the entire spectrum of nuclear energy, a lot of players are there. In the entire spectrum of nuclear energy, first player is the supplier. The supplier of two different things. One is the fuel, the other is the nuclear technology. One is the fuel, the second is the technology person. The second dimension is of the operator, and the third dimension, whether liking it or not, it is the government. Yes sir. Okay. These are the people who are involved in this particular nuclear dimension. Now, this act is very clearly talking about the liability of these two people. That is the operator and the government also. The operator's responsibility has been fixed at 1500 crores, and the act mandates that he has to get this insured. This 1500 crores liability also, the act mandates that the operator has to get it insured. The government responsibility has been fixed between 2100 to 2300 crores. It means, listen carefully, it means there is limited liability. The liability is not unlimited, the liability is limited. From the perspective of operator, 500 crores. From the perspective of government, 2300 crores is the maximum amount that the government can be made responsible to compensate the people who are victims of nuclear accidents. Right? Now, the problem is who will invoke and when they will invoke that this damage has happened and the money has to be paid to this particular people. So this dimension of invocation is known as right to recourse. Please listen to each and every word carefully. Right to recourse. See, we know the famous 123 agreement with America. Civil. What was the name of the agreement? 123 agreement 2005. Come on. साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी की क्लास होगी तुम लोग की, मैं सर फोड़ दूंगा तुम लोग का, बताओ। हाँ, आशा, लावण्या, हाँ, कौमुदी, भवन, हाँ, भावना, रेडी?
पीसफुल न्यूक्लियर कॉर्पोरेशन।
फिर एक्ट का नाम क्या है? 123 एक्ट इज इन अमेरिका, इट इज 123 एक्ट। इंडिया इज व्हाट इज द डील विद अमेरिका नेम? Has America given you nuclear energy for defense purpose? No. They have only given for power generation and civilian use purpose. I told you the only difference between the civilian and the defense technology is the capacity of the centrifuge to spin at a particular speed. The only difference between civil nuclear energy and defense nuclear energy is the capacity of the centrifuge that is holding the nuclear enriched fuel, what speed it can be spinned. Based on that, you can create nuclear energy that is sufficient to carry out a nuclear explosion. So this is the only difference. Now, in the 2005, the deal with America is significant for India because the moment India signed this deal with America, it creates a positive atmosphere for the rest of the world to deal with civil nuclear energy with India. Yes or no? Yes or no? So now the moment that happened, India was under pressure. See, there is one convention called Convention on CSC, Convention on Supplementary Compensation. Yes or no? United Nations का convention है, Convention on Supplementary Compensation. I think 1997. 1997 is the time frame. Your Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act has its roots in the Convention on Supplementary compensation. So based on this, your Civil Liability for Nuclear Damages Act was brought in the year 2010. It means for 13 years, India was not having any clause related to nuclear liability civil damages. With me or not? When was the first nuclear plant set up in India? Civil nuclear plant set up in India? 1926. तुम लोगों का जीके मैं बता रहा हूँ, प्रीलिम्स इज हार्डली a month away, exactly a month away. अब इस टाइम पे ऐसा रिएक्शन, हाँ nuclear, civil nuclear energy history of India. Google every dimension of it. This is in news because of the Maharashtra's Jaitapur nuclear power plant. Okay, lot of things are happening. France is saying, I will not be able to give you, supply you either equipment or fuel because I do not have a clarity on your this one. So that is where the problem is coming here. Jaitapur has been in controversy in the sense, the starting of the nuclear power plant is getting delayed year after year because it is getting done with the assistance of France. You remember, this France happens to be the first country with which India had the strategic partnership. Okay, this is the first country that India signed the strategic partnership because of the nuclear dimension, because of this dimension. So year after year the Jaitapur power plant inauguration is getting delayed because France is saying, I am not getting clarity on this particular act. So the entire controversy is, what is this act saying? What is this act saying about these two people who are responsible? Right? Now this act, see, firstly understand, if you make him responsible, listen to this carefully, if you make him responsible for supplying something, if he says, if you make me responsible, I will not supply. Because in future, if something goes wrong, you will catch me by my collar. He will say, in that case, I will not supply. If you want, I will supply you without any liability to. When the operator purchases a fuel or technology from me, I am not stopping the operator to put any conditions he wants. Once I satisfy all the conditions of the operator decides to buy my technology. After that, I should not be made responsible. Because the nuclear accident can be result of mismanagement by the operator. As a supplier, how can you punish me? Say for example, a building is getting constructed. If the building collapses for some reasons of design fault, can you go and file a complaint against the cement industry that supplied cement to you? No. So that's why it has to understood that, and civil nuclear energy as such is rare energy. It is not readily available. If countries after countries start making him also responsible for supplying the technologies and all, he will stop supplying, because sometimes some things may go wrong, and if the liability is unlimited, unnecessarily he will feel, what you call, unnecessary pressure is coming onto him. So through this convention, an opinion came in the world that the supplier cannot be made responsible for it. The problem with India, it happened is, in this particular act, in some ways we told the supplier can also be made responsible. That is why France is hesitating to share the technology with India. As per this convention, the supplier cannot be made responsible. And I told you, our act is based on this convention with a small correction, addition or alteration. When the operator is going for right to recourse, right to recourse means basically initiating the provisions of the act where the liability starts. Say today is 29th April 2023, the time is 11:28, right? If at 11:30 a nuclear accident happens, at 12 o'clock the operator says, I am invoking the right to recourse because liability has happened, an accident has happened, so many people have lost their life, we have to compensate for it. Now, the grounds as per the act of compensation were only two, but India added one more dimension, the third dimension. The first dimension was what the supplier said, when I am supplying equipment to you, you check. Uske baad I don't want to take any responsibility. This is what the supplier said. The operator said okay. Second, in the act, see, try to understand the act first. Three dimensions of the act. First, the act should say that he is responsible. In my case, the act is saying that you will be responsible. Well, we will see, right? Second, first is the responsibility of the right to recourse. Second, the act says this fellow can be made responsible if there was an intent to create any damage. It means, in the Act of India, two dimensions. If the Act has an explicit provision that the supplier can be made responsible, he can be made responsible. And the second dimension that he can be made responsible, that whenever he gave any technology to you, there is a word they are using, patent and latent. These are the two words the Act uses. They basically say that if there is a design flaw, patented or latented design flaw. Patent is janbujke bana with a design flaw so that a disaster happens. If there is a patent or latent in future, if there is a design flaw in this, it will be deemed to be an intent to carry out a damage in the country. So if there is an explicit provision of invoking responsibility of the supplier, or if it has been found that patent or latent damage in the equipment, basically with an intent to damage, this supplier can also be made responsible for the damage. This is what the Act is saying. But in India, the third dimension also comes. When the operator is initiating the right to recourse, if the operator feels that he will not be able to pay the complete compensation within this 1500 crores, then he can extend the liability to the which France is not agreeing. France is saying these two are okay. These two are okay. This is not with me because I have not agreed to take the responsibility. Any other company, let them take. I have no problem. This I am okay. Okay. अगर ऐसा कुछ मिलता है with an intent. Now the question is, there is no scientific know-how at this stage to understand or to come to a conclusion that there was an intent to damage. And secondly, I told you, there is no consensus on the definition of what is a nuclear damage. So that is why the word is ambiguity. See, things are not clear even now to you. Ambiguous because people have written the law in that way. Whenever there is a liability coming onto the government will very intelligently keep certain things in an ambiguous way. so that the liability can be pushed to somebody else. So that is how intelligently the government has tried to push certain amount of liability on the supplier and certain amount of liability on the what you call operator also. Now, what France is saying, till such time you do not come out clean on this dimension, I am not going to trade with you. You cannot make me responsible. If you want, after this, immediately invoke this clause. अगर उसमें भी नहीं हो रहा है, तो it is your lookout. Please do not involve. This is what is the act entirely about. Why? Because see, if this kind of ambiguity continues, what is the end result? If the ambiguity continues, more companies will not come forward to trade with us. Simple. If more companies do not come forward to trade with us, your nuclear capability of civil energy generation becomes limited. So that is why it is said you have to come out very clear on this. See, for you, this may appear very sir, छोटे तो amount है. The problem is you are only looking the civil dimension part of it. We are not even talking about the, because the moment intent comes into play, civil से हटके criminal also will open, because there is an intent to damage. So that is how there is a lot of ambiguity in this particular act. All the nuclear reactors locations you should know, which nuclear reactor, what type of nuclear reactor, which countries support India is running, which are reached the optimum level of energy production. All these dimensions should be clear to you for this prelims 2023.
Sir, when a country like Russia is having a power plant in India, why is France not doing it?
That's what I am saying. Every country wants to play safe.
But Russia has invested, right?
No, understand. France, India and Russia relationship dimension is completely different. France and India dimension relationship is completely different. So when in this project if Russia is player, but some dimensions France is also coming when it is sharing some technology. See, technology can be hardware, technology can be software, the dimension of support can be fuel also. Understand this. That is why multiple countries are coming into play. हो सकता है कि the entire nuclear plant is set up with the help of Russia, but the nuclear fuel is coming from France. Probability is. So that is how this fellow says, I want certain clarity. Till such time I do not want to enter. See, it is not a delay mechanism. No. France wants to deal with Indian nuclear energy, but he is wanting to play safe. That's the only direction.
Sir, but it's been more than a decade, right, sir?
100 years hoga. Why will he take? See, you are only looking at this. I am looking at this.
That's okay, fine. But
not okay.
Why India is
एक जान भी जाएगा. So it will spoil the relationship with that country.
Why India is
France is, one of the now coming to be one of the biggest, defense supplier to India. He knows other things will get affected. The moment if I వాడు తెలుగులో చెప్పాలంటే 1500 కోట్లు కక్కుర్తిపడి ఓకే అని చెప్పేసి రాసేస్తే అక్కడ రఫేల్ కాంట్రాక్ట్ కాస్ట్ so he is very playing safe, that's all. He says you keep me clean, I will give whatever you want, but you don't put me responsible. Whatever inspections you want to put at the time of purchase, once you say yes this equipment is good, I will buy it, after that I am not responsible for anything. Because my responsibility should be limited to the quality of product that I am selling you at the point of sale. That's all. I don't want any responsibility after that. Unless and until you establish that there was an intent to damage. You prove it, I accept that responsibility. Other than that, I am not ready to accept. First class I have rejected. If you make me responsible, I will not give you in the first place. Second, you prove the intent to damage, I will pay it. This I don't want. So he put it very clear कि मैं तभी दूंगा जब तुम मेरे को responsible नहीं खड़ा करो. ठीक? I was जैसे you हाँ.
Now that India is going towards renewable energy, why is not India compromising in this? Because it's been more than a decade.
See, understand.
So that
if somebody like you, an IAS officer sitting there, he says, okay, हटाओ यार responsibility. Nuclear accident happens. आफ्टर 10 years, तो किसी भी गांव में भी बैठा होगा ना, तेरे को ढूंढ के ले जाएगी पुलिस, क्योंकि you were the one who, that is why you will not sign. Simple. Understand, bureaucracy plays safe, because yes, there are legal implications in future. Something going wrong, you are also in the loop of criminal this thing. Okay? So that is why people want to play safe. उसमें delay होगा. Not only this, many things will get delayed just because nobody wants to own responsibility for a particular act. Because error of omission, error of commission, ये सब चीजें law नहीं देखता है after a limit. Because lives, Chernobyl incident, you Google about it, your eye opening. Bhopal gas was not nuclear. I am talking from the perspective of nuclear. Fukushima, it was Japan that could save. India होता तो गया. And because, and these plants have to be near waterbeds for the cooling effect to happen. Increasing cyclonic effects. One more tsunami, and you do something wrong. There. So understand that. Okay? Yeah. Somebody was asking. Done? चले आगे. Only one article. अरे current affairs. मेरे को भी एक पेपर दो. Sir. अरे अभी who got from Muslim Tech? Okay, sir. Okay. चलो. Ask for some copies. Yes. Current affairs.
Now government decided to give that insurance beyond 1500 crores.
Yes. Then government का insurance 1500 crores तक है ही नहीं. Up till 1500 crores operator. Who's your NP? Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited is the operator, for example. So the responsibility up till 1500 crores is the operator's responsibility, and the operator will not pay from his pocket. He will insure it. This is called contingent liability. Liability arising out of an event, contingency. So he will give it to General India Insurance, for example. The General India Insurance the operator will only pay the premium. The moment any accident happens, he will execute the contract, and the General Insurance will pay 1500 to operator, and the operator will do the payments.
Then there will be no problem for transfer.
Better you are limiting your scope of damage only to 1500 crores. If say for example, the nuclear, you have the nuclear fuel complex in Hyderabad. Hello, I hope you are aware. You have a nuclear fuel complex in Hyderabad. Hyderabad, there is a nuclear fuel complex. For your information, Hyderabad is also one of the best first targets of the enemy. If the bomb explodes, ASHOKNAGAR, all the UPSC aspirants evaporate instantly. Competition reduced. मतलब कितना मतलब ये है? Now the students evaporate. Now, is there any head count? How many students were there? Now, say for example, assumption 1000 students. How do you come to the value of life of each student? But understand. So that is the reason why here this is not important. Here, criminal liability. So people are trying to avoid the criminal liability. Civil. Do you think France के लिए 1500 करोड़ कुछ matter है? So understand that. So people are trying to avoid this criminal liability and not the civil liability. India is also wanting to play safe. We are more cautious. That's the only thing. But the problem is that in this dimension, in the existing scheme of things, establishing this or proving this is not that easy. It's not that easy. So that's the problem. हमारे पास technology नहीं है. That is the reason why we are borrowing the technology. We are purchasing the technology. Now, it is testing that technology is not good. Where is this? Because we do not have the basic technology, we are purchasing. It means that India is a novice in this field. And what is the mechanism to check that intent to damage was there? How do you check? So, it is not a new. जब मैं स्टूडेंट था तब भी ये न्यूज़ था, आज भी ये न्यूज़, और शायद अगले 10 साल के बाद भी ये न्यूज़ चलेगा. Because 2010 no, 11, 12 hard debates used to happen, Lok Sabha TV, Rajya Sabha TV, and all, because 123 agreement no, which Manmohan Singh signed with Obama. There are lot of uproar, positive uproar. India US deal sign हो गया. When this came out, people said, अच्छा ये sign किया. So understand the dimensions, geopolitical dimension. So State of Global Climate Report 2022 is released by Global Climate Report. Global Climate Report 2022. See, this is another impending disaster. Another impending disaster. See, the report is released by the World Meteorological Organization. Now, one important part of the report, if you see about the report, first line, it focuses on key climate indicators. Underline the word climate indicators, extremely important from prelims perspective. Which of the following constitute climate indicators? As a question I have. Everything starting from greenhouse gases, temperatures, sea level rise, oceanic heat and acidification, sea ice and glaciers. These all constitute your climate indicators, including your sea ice. Very important, you may get confused, is temperature. Temperature is also an important element of global climate indicator, right? It also highlights the impact. It shows the planetary scale changes on land, in the ocean and in the air. So another point of question, the report covers only the land, the report covers only the ocean. No, it covers the land, the ocean and also the atmosphere because of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, right? What is the major highlight? No, very important. Carbon dioxide is 149% of the pre-industrial level. 149%. See, pre-industrial level is 1850 to 1900. This is the period called industrial phase. If you remember the industrial revolution that happened in Europe, in the Western Europe, this was the time frame when the industrial revolution started. So anything related to environmental degradation, they always go back to a word called pre-industrial level. So whenever they are using the word pre-industrial level, the time period is before 1850 to 1900. So what was the carbon dioxide, amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere before this? It is 149% more than what it was in 1850. And the methane is much more disturbing. Methane is 262% and nitrous oxide is 124%. So 124%. So this is how. Now in which, what is maximum? Maximum is your methane followed by carbon dioxide, third is your nitrous oxide. Okay? Now the high global mean temperature in 2022, the planet was 0.13 degrees centigrade, 1.15 plus minus 0.13 degrees centigrade warmer than the pre-industrial. So they have given the time period, making the last 8 years the warmest on record. Making the last 8 years, it means that the temperature is constantly increasing. Understand this dimension. Statement will come like this. Okay. Now, above normal precipitation. Precipitation is nothing but your rainfall. Precipitation is nothing but your rainfall. In 22, large areas with above normal precipitation included large parts of Asia and the Southwest Pacific, areas of Northern South America and the Caribbean, the Eastern Sahel region, parts of South Africa, Sudan and Eastern Europe. So it means that the spread of the precipitation is spread across the continents. Now, what is the effect of increased precipitation? What is the negative effect of increased precipitation? What is the negative effect of increased precipitation?
Small island nations will be submerged.
What is the negative effect of varsham vaste manchide? Unseasonal, okay. Sea level rise is what he says.
Soil affects agriculture.
The biggest problem with rainfall is it results in soil erosion because of the flow of water. And what you do, you put happily fertilizers, chemical pesticides in the fields, it goes and enters your. Okay, so that is the challenge that happens with the overall what you call increased precipitation. Ocean heat content. What is the problem with the heat content of the ocean changing? One is the increased cyclonic effect. Second, very important,
Salinity.
climate patterns change. The climate patterns change, that will create sustainability issues among certain biodiversity. Understand this. See, Alfonso mango, is it grown in AP Telangana? Where it is grown? Maharashtra, more in the regions of Ratnagiri and all those regions. If the climate changes and that climate of Ratnagiri changes, will you get Alfonso mangoes in Maharashtra then? You may not get. The climate may change. Like as a child, I never witnessed rainfall in Hyderabad in the month of April and May. Never ever it saw. But now every third or fourth day it is torrentially pouring, because this time also happens to be the harvest time. So if at this point of time torrential rainfall, now that say example mango, it is the time for the mango ripening to happen, end of April, first week of May. Believe me, 30 to 35% of the crop would have got destroyed because of today morning's rain. So that is how orographic change, that's what we call precipitation level change, has a very strong negative effect on the agriculture of any particular country. Okay? So oceanic content is also very important, because it will lead to, over a period of time, changed weather patterns. 2022, 58% of the ocean surface suffered at least one marine heat wave event, and 25% of the surface experienced at least one marine cold spell. Now marine heat wave and marine cold spell, believe me, has a devastating effect on the marine population, especially the fish resources on which we are dependent. So that is how it has a negative effect not only on the land, not only in the ocean, but also in the air. Okay? Rise in sea level. In 2022, global mean sea level continued to rise. The sea has risen approximately 3.4 plus minus 0.3 mm per year over the past 30 years. And one more statement I think he gave about the oceanic acidification. The global mean ocean pH has been steadily declining. pH declining means what is happening? Acidification of the ocean is happening, right? At rates not seen for at least the past 26,000 years. So what is happening now? Oceanic acidification is happening. Oceanic acidification is happening. What is the problem with this? Acidification of biodiversity. Oh, that is the ocean cause.
Coral reefs. Coral reefs.
One is the destruction of the coral reefs. Very good. Good. Yes.
Decrease in the
Carbon
fixation.
Okay. Acidification means the pH is going down, right?
Reducing carbon sequestration.
What is
Carbon sequestration.
how
By corals.
coral to okay, that point is taken.
Salinity increases.
Okay, then how the salinity is linked to the carbon sequestration?
Calcium.
बेटा सवाल इधर से ही आएगा. हाँ, how? What is carbon sequestration? The ability of the carbon. If your salinity of the ocean increases, what it will lead to? सभी साइंस स्टूडेंट्स हो. हाँ, heating of the ocean is leading to what?
Humidity increases.
Okay, so what?
Carbon storage capacity decreases.
हाँ, कौन बताया? कार्तिक, साइंस और आर्ट्स बैकग्राउंड. हाँ, बोलो साइंस बैकग्राउंड. हाँ, पवन. Science background students. If the ocean acidification is increasing, what is happening to the carbon sequestration capacity of the ocean? Carbon sequestration, you have agreed that it is the ability of the ocean or a water body to hold carbon dioxide within it. Yes or no? If it starts releasing the carbon dioxide, it will result into the increase in the percentage of carbon dioxide. Now, how is ocean's acidification increasing or decreasing this carbon sequestration is my question.
Eutrophication.
Calcification of mammals, calcification of skulls or something happens in the oceans.
Okay.
Carbon sequestration.
उससे क्या हो रहा है?
Something related to that, sir. I am not.
Eutrophication increases.
Eutrophication increases. With salinity, eutrophication increases or decreases?
With acidity.
तुम्हारा ज्योग्राफी का टीचर आएगा आरआरबी के लिए, उसका खून पी जाए, and you should not allow him to go because one question 100% prelims में आएगा based on ocean acidification and carbon sequestration, role of oceans in the carbon sequestration. Please hold him accountable to explain you this dimension. I am not going to do it. चलो अच्छा. Sea ice extent understood. Glacier mass balance. हाँ. Come to the glacier mass balance. It says that glaciers have been losing mass nearly every year. The exceptional melt in Swiss Alps. In Switzerland, 6% of the glacier ice volume was lost between 2021 and 2022, and it is for the first time seen that in the history no snow outlasted the summer season. It means in the middle of the summer only the entire snow got melted. It only is an indicative of increasing temperature even in the Alps. So it is a very big cause of concern. Okay? Again I am telling you, ocean acidification, please look up, very important for this year exams. Because in this same report only, if you go deep into this report, it has very clearly mentioned about what is the result of it. Ocean acidification, carbon sequestration, ocean का pH value कितना होना चाहिए, which is the optimal level of pH value of the oceans. Please see that. If the pH value of the ocean increases or decreases, what negative or positive effect it will have on the global climate patterns. Please try to understand. Your entire monsoon is dependent on the variation in the temperature of the ocean surface water. Okay? Please. Chalo. Next is gig workers. Who are these gig workers? We know that gig workers are the persons who are generally contractual. See, there is an organization. There is a workforce. Gig worker. Now, anybody who do not understand the word gig worker, anybody who is listening to this word for the first time, who is that? Nice. Everybody is highly educated. Good. It makes my job easy. Organization is there, individual is there. Right? So tomorrow you become, all of you become IAS officers. Will you all become gig workers? No. You will become all parasites on the government. No? So तुम्हारा चश्मे से लेके, तुम्हारा socks से लेके, everything the government has to pay. But in case of a gig worker, the responsibility of social support is missing. It means he will pay you for what you are working. Beyond that, he is not responsible for providing any support to you. It could be pension, it could be health related, any benefits, it could be any insurance related benefit. He will not do anything for you. He will only give you pay for what you are working. And the beauty is, the day you will not work, you will not get any pay. So it means he is in a way not the contractual worker के ऊपर भी principal employer का obligation होता है. Somebody use the word contractual labor. कौन था? Somebody use the word contractual laborers. No, gig workers are also not contractual labor, because the moment you employ contractual labor, the Minimum Wages Act comes into play. And the moment the Minimum Wages Act comes into play, the pension dimension, the ESI, the employee state insurance dimension, that will come into play. So the gig workers, they are not even contractual employees, because the moment contractual employment happens, the person who is employed becomes the principal employee. And anything going wrong with the employee in the premises of the principal employer, even though he is a contract labor, the responsibility comes on the principal employee. But in this case of gig workers, they do not have even those basic amenities that are available to a contractual labor. So like your Ola Uber drivers, your Swiggy partners, they are all gig workers only. So if they deliver one particular product, they may get 20, 30 or 40 rupees from that particular sale that has happened. The moment he closes his account after 2 sales, he will not get anything for that particular day. So that is the biggest challenge. Now what is happening is gig workers के ऊपर prelims में question आ सकता है. A question can come, who all are the gig workers or what are the characteristics of gig workforce करके they will make a question. In that, non-standard or gig worker consists of income earning activities outside of standard long-term employer-employee relationship. This we have understood. A gig economy is a labor market that relies heavily on temporary and part-time positions filled by independent contractors and freelancers rather than full-time permanent employees. Okay. The term is borrowed from the music world where performers book gigs that are single or short-term engagements at various venues. Generally in the world of music, no, what happens? People are employed. Like tomorrow there is a big wedding event. Some rich guy is getting his daughter or son, wedded. Maybe a singer may be called for. Maybe a performer's troupe may be called for. Maybe a band may be called for. This is called gig employment. This is called gig employment. So the word gig is coming from the music industry, right? Now the gig economy uses digital platforms to connect the freelancers with the customers to provide short-term services or asset sharing. Examples they have given you, right? Now come to the steps taken by the government. The Code of Security, the Social Security 2020. What it says, the government has formulated the Code of Social Security 2020, which envisages framing of suitable social security schemes for gig workers and platform workers on the matters very important. These three lines: life and disability cover, accident insurance, health and maternity benefits, old age protection, etc. However, very important, these provisions under the code have not yet come into force. Understand, whenever a gig operator is wanting to hire somebody, if these provisions are invoked, the cost of employment for that person will go high. So he will not be comfortable in giving that employment opportunity to him. So this has been held. The second step taken by the government is the E-Shram portal. The government has also launched the E-Shram portal in 21 for the registration and the creation of the comprehensive national database of unorganized workers, including the gig workers and platform workers. So these are the two steps taken by the government. Probable question in prelims this year. Now, next is related to the medical this thing.
Sir, can we say that the online teaching platforms can also be a part of the working system?
Depends what is the contractual agreement between the teachers and that institution.
Because actually, the working system, the given provide examples for hailing apps, food delivery apps, and the higher rental apps.
Yes.
That 2020 report of Niti Aayog that was released in the last year of July 27th of 2022.
Okay.
It said that the economy during the lockdown has been based on the gig economy.
Yes.
Due to the lockdown effect, there was no rental apps, there was no tourist apps,
no rental
apps.
Okay.
There was no food delivery apps been working effectively. There was no rental apps working effectively. There was no riding hailing apps effectively.
Okay.
Then where does the income of almost 7.7 million economy has been come to the Indian economy?
See, understand. See. The report that you are quoting of July 2022, this report was basically intended by the Niti Aayog to intimate to the country the importance of understand. Whenever the government tries to bring a law or a statute, what is the role of Niti Aayog? It is a think tank. The government gets an idea. Let's what you call streamline the gig economy. Now, if the government straightly goes and tries to bring a law, there would be a resistance from the industry. I told you the cost of employment will increase. Very intelligently, government will tell Niti Aayog, you carry out a survey and tell me what is the position in the economy now related to gig economy. Now, these fellows who have the entire data of the country through the E-Shram portal, they will get the entire data. Now, based on that data, they will do a correction. what is happening, what is the dependence of today. Can you think of the time when Swiggy is not working? आधा घंटा अगर नहीं काम करेगा तो you all will become frustrated. Yes sir. So now Niti Aayog in the same report he said it is saying that the dimension of the gig economy, the positive dimension of the gig economy is that it has gone to the public. The market has gone to the individual. The individual did not come to the market, but the market was taken to the individual. Earlier, if I have to think of Paradise Biryani, I have to physically go to Paradise Biryani. Yeah, while going back home, I stop by, pick up the parcel and go home. This was the case. Now, 90% of the food is being delivered home today. It means that the gig workers are playing an important role in the circulation of money in the economy. Understand a situation. You are tired of the day. You want to order something. Nothing is getting ordered online. You tried everything. Internet is down. You are in JFK. What is the next option you do? Will you sleep hungry? What will you do? Either you will go to the nearby locality, eat something, or cook something on your own and eat. So what have you done? Your ad as stopped economic movement. So understand, anything that is playing a positive role in the circulation of the economy will always get the government support. Because you are ordering on Swiggy, the government is getting that 42 rupees tax or 38 rupees tax. If the government does not allow it, the government's revenue gets disturbed. So government will always give a positive hand to anybody whose act will have a positive effect on the tax collection of the government. So that is the reason why this report also spoke about the positive dimensions of the gig economy that it is playing. It spoke about around 7.7 million people who are employed directly in the gig economy. Now it was 7.7, now it is 8.4 million people in the gig economy. Now the point is, what to do next? The moment government says, Ola driver ko tum salary do, he will say I don't need. Immediately he will say I don't need. The moment he says I don't need, maybe 1.2 will become jobless suddenly. Maybe out of those 1.2, definitely 1 million people would have taken some loan to pay for the rent of that car. So the entire economy will collapse. So once a trend of economy circulation gets set, government generally tries not to disturb it effectively. So that is the reason why it is said that whenever the government is trying to bring in any law where it is compelling the industry to pay for the gig workers, the industry is saying sorry, I cannot do. Now the biryani is 180 rupees in the counter if you go to the hotel. But if online you book, if the bill comes 350 rupees, will you book it? Double you will not book it. Otherwise what you will say? This is what you will do. So what has happened? It has affected the tax of the government. The moment you are booking it on Swiggy, he is paying tax. But when you are going there, maybe you are not paying. You go to Bawarchi, do you think you will pay tax? You will take only in cash. Yes sir, try to make some online payment to Bawarchi. Unless and until you force him, he will not take on. So it means that the government does not want to take any action where the revenue generation of the government is negatively affected. See, these are all very tricky. I will not use the word controversy. These are tricky issues where the government wants to do something but at the same time does not want to do anything big that will affect its revenue generation capacity. So the gig workers will continue to be gig workers. From my side, probably time removed. Maybe ESI and all these health related benefits may be. The problem is, see, one more challenge is there. Understand the other flip side of the coin. Today I am with Ola, tomorrow I may go to Uber. If he tomorrow goes to Uber, Ola guy will say, why I should pay for his insurance when I know he has the every right to leave. So these problems are coming. There are some ground realities also that we need to accept. So there are a lot of issues that come. Once you are part of an operator, you will understand. Ola, Uber people, if you book an auto or a scooter or anything, the first question that person will ask is, are you paying cash or are you paying online? The moment you say online, he will cancel the cost. Right. Why is he doing? Because there are a lot of payment issues happening between the operator and the gig worker. So that is how we have to understand that at some point of time that adjustment has to happen from the industry perspective the government perspective, the gig operators also. ठीक है? चलो, next is WHO issues alert over India made cough syrup. I don't know why this problem is happening. Last year also we had this issue, no? India made cough syrups are creating problems here for some reason. Last year also we had a problem with similar drug, no? Uzbekistan कहीं पे हुआ था? Gambia, Uzbekistan, there was some issue, no? Hello, with me or not? The World Health Organization has said that a batch of contaminated India-made cough syrup has been found in the Marshall Islands and Micronesia. पता नहीं वहाँ कैसे पहुँच गए, ठीक है? And the problem is they have unacceptable amounts of diethylene glycol and ethylene glycol as contaminants. So the World Health Organization, see, India is now emerging as a pharmaceuticals export hub. Now it is the high time. Understand who is funding WHO majorly now?
Yes.
China.
ट्रम्प ये बोल बोल के मर गया. Trump did not give the money also. If you followed the news that time, because he says that many events which could have been avoided if these people had acted on time, WHO, including your COVID also. If had it been declared as a pandemic initially, we would have sealed China, no movement out and in of China, because WHO did not tell on time. That's how the entire world got negatively affected. Now, when you want to become the pharmaceuticals export hub of the world, these things cannot happen. And if these things are happening, it means that your reputation as a pharmaceutical hub will get negatively affected. And he will find an opportunity to highlight the fault because he is getting funded by China, who happens to be your. So your own checks and balances have to be very, very strong. See, understand, in the real world, the competition is so tough कि चाइना इतना इंटेलिजेंट है, इंडिया का स्टिकर लगा के एक 10,000 बॉटल्स डंप कर देगा कहीं, which will have increased amount of. Now the problem comes is WHO made the statement, well and good. Now it has to be proved that these drugs came from India. Now it is highly. That's why you remember one clause in WTO, rules of origin. Rules of origin. That is the importance of the rules of origin. The moment something goes wrong, they will go back. This product came from where? So these kind of tactics are played by the competitors in the international market to create a negative impression about a particular product. Okay? Now what it says, I am not saying China has done it. I am saying this can be a possibility. This can be a possibility. But in this case, it is not a possibility. The WHO said that guaifenesin is an expectorant. Expectorant are basically, chest congestive. Darapulin is also an expectorant. Avil also happens to be AVIL. Okay. Avil, but expectorant is also आता है. ठीक है? Avil is also expectorant. Darapulin. One more is there. One more expectorant used to come. So these are basically related to clear your throat congestion, chest congestions, basically throat and your chest congestions. Because of the COVID issue, understand, what was getting targeted mainly the respiratory tracts, right? So these things were started getting produced in high quantity. So कहीं ना कहीं इंडिया से गलती हुई है. The samples of so-and-so syrup from the Marshall Islands were analyzed and it was found that the product contained the unacceptable amounts of diethylene glycol and the ethylene glycol as contaminants. Now, it says that diethylene glycol and ethylene glycol are toxic to humans when consumed and can prove fatal. So, this is one toxicity. Now, make a box, list of Indian pharmaceutical medicines, found to have toxins in the past 2 years. in the past 2 years? Which are Indian pharmaceutical products? Certain medical devices were also under the radar. We'll come to that. Now, as regards the regulation, the Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940, amended in the year 2008, I think, amended in the year 2008, the Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940. The primary objective of the Act is to ensure that the drugs and cosmetics sold in India are safe, effective and conform to the state quality standards. The Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940 was amended by the Drugs and Cosmetics Act 2008 to provide for more stringent penalties for manufacture and trade of spurious and adulterated drugs. But the more important part is the 2022 bill that has been introduced in the Parliament related to New Drugs, Medical Devices and Cosmetic Bills 2022 to accommodate the changing requirements and encourage the adoption of new technology. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare released a draft bill in July to replace the existing Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940, replace completely. Okay. The Central Drug Standard Control Organization, the CDSCO, please make a note of this institution. It is the apex department of the Central Drug Standard Control Organization of the Government of India. It is a regulatory body, underline the word, it is a regulatory body for Indian pharmaceuticals and the medical devices. It comes under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And the DCGI, the Drug Controller General of India, is the head of this particular department. So you saw that we generally see news, the Drug Controller General of India made this. So he is basically, the appointment is the Drug Controller General of India. He is basically head of the institution called the Central Drug Standard Control Organization. Okay. Now, the next article related to smuggling of gold, very important from the internal security point of view. One line in the entire article is important, which are the states that are highest importers of gold in India. You will be surprised. Tamil Nadu is there, Maharashtra is there, followed by Kerala. These are the three states. Incidentally, AP and Telangana are not there. So Tamil Nadu, generally people know, this is the state which is known to be the guzzler of gold. So much of gold people purchase. The way you have clothing shopping malls in Hyderabad, the same way you have big shopping malls of jewelry only in entire Tamil Nadu. When you go to Madurai and all those places, and also Kerala happens. I have not though seen many similar gold shops in Maharashtra, but maybe Maharashtra is the point where the entry of the gold is happening. That's the reason why I feel Maharashtra is one of them. It says that over 63% of this smuggled gold was detected at airports. So the biggest route of the smuggling of gold is coming through the airports, right? Now, recently the DRI seized 101 kg smuggled gold worth 51 crore in Golden Dawn operation. Please underline the operation name, the Golden Dawn operation related to the smuggling of gold, right? Though India witnesses legal import of gold around 800 to 1000 tons of gold annually, the size of the grey market is 4000 tons. It means that the size of the grey market of the gold is 3 times bigger than the white market. Okay. According to the data available with the Union Ministry, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra and Kerala accounted for the bulk of the gold smuggling cases registered in the country in the past 10 years. So when it came to gold smuggling, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra and Kerala amounted to maximum. And if you observe it closely, these are all coastal states. If you observe it closely, these are all coastal states. But despite that, 63% of the smuggling happened through the air routes. So don't get confused, right? In fiscal year 22, India was estimated to import around 3.4 trillion Indian rupees worth of gold. India fulfills more than 90% of its demand through imports. In 21, India ranked as the second largest gold importing country worldwide based on value, based by the World Gold Council, right? According to a recent World Gold Council report, India was the largest consumer of gold before being overtaken by China in 2009. So now China is the largest consumer of gold, and believe me, the China's gold is not in the form of gems and jewelry. It is in the form of bullion. BULLION. Bullion is bars, gold bars and all. So they are more using gold as an investment tool rather than as a jewelry tool. So that's why you will not see a Chinese with full of gold the way you generally find Indians, right? Now in 2021, India bought 611 tons of gold jewelry, second only to China 673 tons, but comfortably ahead of all other gold consuming markets. So we are closely following China, 673 and 611. What about the World Gold Council? Headquartered in London, it is a market development organization for the gold industry, which includes 25 members and many gold mining companies as well. And very important, the World Gold Council has an office in India, China, Singapore, Japan and also the United States. These are the 5 places where the World Gold Council also has the office, right? Next article is about network of groundwater sensors. Network of groundwater sensors. Now, network of groundwater sensors. What we get when we put a groundwater sensor? What we get when we put a groundwater sensor?
Quality of
Level of ground.
One, he says the level of groundwater. Okay. Somebody says the level of groundwater.
real-time calculation of water fluctuation.
Real-time calculation of
Water fluctuation.
water
Fluctuation.
water
Fluctuations.
fluctuation.
I mean, increase or decrease in level.
Level of groundwater.
Purity of water.
Purity based on sensor.
Water availability.
Level of water. What is the purpose of a sensor? The next paragraph, aquifer. We know if this is the surface between the stones, you may have an aquifer. Underneath here, aquifer is an area whether made of stone, granite or gravel that is holding water. Yes sir. There is a possibility that there can be small hole that the water is seeping in. If the water goes deeper, you have to dig deeper to go and get the water. Yes sir. And if the water goes deeper, what will happen to the quality of water is my question.
Salinity increases. Minerals increase.
This is your sand, no? Various levels of soil. When the water is seeping in, what is happening to the acidity of the water? क्या फालतू सवाल पूछते हो? What is the happening to the quality of the soil? Improving or going bad?
Reduces quality of soil.
Till what level water can be there in the soil? तुम ये सवाल नहीं पूछते हो टीचर से क्लास में फाउंडेशन में? मैं तो ऐसे फालतू सवाल पूछता हूँ. Because you said the earth interior core is very hot and all the stuff, no? It is in magma. फिर water कहाँ तक है? My teacher once in angry mode, he said, I will send you, you find out it now. Literally I asked this simple question. Sir, till what level of the ground we can find water? Was my question.
bedrock, parent rock, bedrock or parent rock.
600,000
हाँ?
1,000 feet.
उसके बाद नहीं मिलेगा पानी.
Beyond that, gas, oil.
So you mean to say that gas and oil is found only after 1,000 feet?
Not that. Gas and oil found at 4,000 meters.
When you have gas and oil, you mean to say that the coexistence of water is ruled out? हाँ.
4 kilo.
Sir, it is so thankful that you are not our geography teacher. Otherwise, you would have complicated this subject also. It's generally easy. हाँ.
4 to 5 kilometers.
4 to 5 kilometers. What is the diameter of the earth?
6,000.
Not radius, diameter.
12,000.
इसका रेडियस कितना है? What is the radius? What is the radius? What is the radius? From center of the pole to
Any corner of the
M-text भी है यहाँ पे. हाँ. Since this is Earth, this is your radius, and this is your diameter. Very good. My question is, what is the radius of the Earth? If Pawan is standing here like this, what is the radius of the Earth? And my question is, till how much deep inside the Earth water is found? Question समझ में आया? You are talking about the ground level of the water is going down, because now you are saying earlier 30 feet पे पानी आता था, अभी 300 feet पे भी पानी नहीं आता. In some places 800 feet also you are not getting water. Now my question is, what is the level of restriction by the government that you cannot dig beyond that? Question is something. You are constructing a new house. Your neighbor got water at 30 feet. You did not get water at 300 feet. You decided to go deeper. You went till 600 feet. You did not get water. You decided to go further, 900 feet. Now my question is, as per the law, how deep you can go? Is my question.
100.
यही तुमको जानना है. Now the problem is, say for example, you got water at 1000 feet. Now, is there a difference in the water which is fetched from 1000 feet and the water which was fetched from 200 feet is my question. In which water the salinity will be more? Adjacent areas only, not bigger change in the atmosphere. Adjacent area half a kilometer distance.
1000.
Where the salinity will be more, where the pH value will be.
Deep water more saline.
Deep water will be more saline. He says, as you go deeper, the salinity of the water increases. So what is saying? You agree? No, they don't agree. What you say? It decreases. We don't say that also. Then what do you say? Go ahead with the other term. It is dependent on the rock structure. Need not rock structure or the gravel structure, whatever it is. That is why it is seen at places, though the entire surrounding may have sour water, there will be a point somewhere there you will have a sweet water, despite the fact that around the areas you may not have any sweet water. Like there is a very famous place in Bidar, close by, where Gurdwara is also there. That is the only source of what you call drinking water or sweet water in the entire district. Nowhere you will find, and when you go around in the bike or the car, you will see completely, in a way barren lands you will see. But in the middle of the barren land, you will see a sweet water source. And you see the water is coming out in real time, and you can actually take and sip the water, and you will feel the purity of the water there. Now the point is, the point of origin of that water is coming through a aquifer which probably has got a sealed chamber. Now, if it has got a sealed chamber, there should have been some capacity of the water. Now the question is, if it is a sealed chamber, what is the size of that sealed chamber that the water is sweet and it is been coming for the last 300 years? 300 years, not 1 year or 2 years. And the salinity or the pH level of the water is not getting affected. It means that its interaction with the outside world within the earth is negligible. Then how the water entered is the question.
Calculation.
rainwater.
है ना? चल गुड. इससे ज्यादा कंफ्यूज नहीं कर. चलो, नेटवर्क ऑफ ग्राउंड वाटर सेंसर्स, जल शक्ति मिनिस्ट्री इज वर्किंग ऑन एन ambitious plan to deploy a vast network of groundwater sensors. If you do not develop the faculty of questioning, FACULTY, faculty of questioning, UPSC prelims is difficult to pass. Mains pass ho jaoge, prelims nahi pass hoga. So start questioning. When somebody teaches you something, start imagining that in front of your eyes and start questioning. Okay sir, ऐसा क्यों, वैसा क्यों? Keep asking those questions. चलो, 67,000 recordable units in the future they are planning. Now, piezometer, PIEZO, again important, measures the groundwater levels. The recorders will transmit the information digitally. It is called a piezometer, right? Aquifer is an underground layer of water bearing permeable rock. Now the question here is a permeable rock. It means that the water will permeability, okay? Permeable rock fractures or unconsolidated materials like gravel, sand or silt. Groundwater from aquifers can be extracted using the water well. That's what we do in the farming, no? Water wells you create, and from the aquifer you keep drawing the water to the top. And very important, NAQUIM, National Aquifer Mapping Program, implemented by the Central Groundwater Board. It has mapped the country's aquifer at a resolution of 1:50,000. Under the second phase of the program, it expects to improve the resolution by 5 times in the country. So far, an area of 25.15 lakh square kilometer has been covered under the NAQUIM. Now, if you improve the resolution 1:52, 1:2 lakh 50,000, what will you achieve? What will you achieve? In the piezometer, existing capacity resolution is 1:50,000. Now I am saying the intention is to improve the resolution capacity from 50,000 to 1 lakh to what? How much? 2,50,000. Now what is the 1 lakh?
1:10,000.
1:50,000 is the present resolution, and the intention is to improve it by 5 times. So 2,50,000. Now, if it is improved to 2,50,000, what will be the net effect? How the piezometer's capacity resolution? What do you understand by resolution here? 1:50,000 piezometer resolution.
Accuracy.
Of
Finding
what do you understand by 1:50,000 resolution? General sense.
For 50,000 meters, 1 meter.
What is this resolution 1:50,000? कौन बताएगा? What do you mean by this? And they are planning to increase it to 5 times, 2,50,000. What will they achieve? Number of what you call the sensors, 67,000. Okay, understood. But by improving the resolution, what are they improving? Are they able to get a better picture of the quality of the water or the availability of the water? Availability of water.
Mapping of water.
Okay. Mapping of water resolution कहाँ use कर रहे हैं? In the map.
Accuracy in quality of
हाँ और ఎందుకు సార్ ఇవన్నీ మాకు quality of water, but the responsibility is only to
measure the water levels.
Measure the water levels. So what is the piezometer doing in this case? What is the increased resolution helping in finding the water or the quality of water or anything else?
water level accuracy.
What is the difference?
So 1:50,000 is better accuracy.
Better accuracy.
One means for 10,000 parts, one sensor will be there.
Okay.
Then for 50,000 we'll get 5 sensors.
Okay.
So if we increase it by 5 times, then we'll get for 1:10,000.
But earlier also you were getting 1:10,000 as per your.
What you said here, 25.
But which is more accurate?
1:50,000 compared to 1:25.
then why are they talking about increasing to improve the resolution by 5 times in the country?
If we increase, it becomes 1:10,000.
Now understand, this 1:50,000 what he is saying earlier was there. I want to increase the accuracy by 5 times. It means not making this. It means making increasing the accuracy of locating the water. Understand? Because you are not sending anything inside. You are not digging a hole inside and putting a sensor underground. The sensor is over the ground only. But the piezometer's capacity to what you call accurately measure that the water. See, when this water drilling people come, borewell के लिए, they will carry an instrument with them. ऐसा नहीं है कि blindly यहाँ खोदना शुरू कर देगा. They will bring an instrument with them. It is called a. It is called a. It is called a piezometer. But the problem is these are all not permanent piezometers. The government wants to permanently put 67,000 piezometers across the country. These people will try to use the piezometer and see where the water availability is higher. And based on that they will start digging the water. And they are told by the government you cannot go beyond a particular limit. That is homework for you. Please. Chalo. Now, most important for prelims is, do you know second point? 90% of the groundwater depletion in India is due to the agriculture sector. 8 to 9% groundwater is utilized by the household and is followed by the industrial sector, only 2%. So if they ask you percentage wise, highest is agricultural sector, second is the households who consume the maximum water, and lastly is the industries. Okay? And India was declared as the highest groundwater user in the world in the year 2018. चलो कहीं ना कहीं हम फर्स्ट है. Around 85% of the rural water requirements and 50% of the urban areas water requirements are fulfilled by groundwater. Rural India's dependence on the groundwater is more higher than the dependence of the urban India. Please make a note, these are important. And these are some of the groundwater conservation initiatives: the Central Groundwater Board, the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, the National Water Policy, Atal Bhujal Yojana, and National Aquifer Mapping and Management Program. The article that we have studied just now. Okay. The next article is on the ransomware, cyber security, Lockbit. Lockbit here is LOCKBIT. Lockbit ransomware. What is the ransomware? What is the ransomware? Ransom. Asking money in exchange of either doing or not doing something is called ransomware. What is the ransomware attack? कौन बताएगा? When is the ransomware attack? We have spoken about the MIM attack, no, man in the middle attack. Man in the middle attack or ransomware attack. Say this is your system, the consumer system, and this is some system from where you were getting access to certain data. So what somebody will do, he'll come in the middle, he'll block the access, called man in the middle, and he will say, I will give you access only once you pay me some money, otherwise I will not give you the access. It is called ransomware attack, right? Now the Lockbit ransomware attack is basically attacking the Apple. Understand? Who is buying Apple phone? People who have lot of money, except for me who have taken on EMIs, 24 EMIs. Okay? So now people who have got lot of money are using the Apple products. Now the chances of getting the ransom positively is higher. So now what these people are doing is the Apple products, the iOS based products and Mac products, they are attacking them, and the worst part is they are asking them to pay money in cryptocurrency, and if you do not pay the money, the details that how they attack your system, how your system is vulnerable, they will post in the that's the problem. Because if you happen to pay the money in cryptocurrency, Who has taken that money, you will never come to know. And on top of it, if the dark web is also added to it, कहाँ से attack initiate हुआ, who initiated the attack, how the attack got executed, where from the attack got executed, nothing will be come to know. So this has become a new headache in the Apple industry, the lockbit ransomware attack. Very, very important. ठीक है? Now,
basically blocking a system, they don't access anything.
see, that's what. Here it is this. In a typical ransomware attack, if this is your system, say for example, this was your system, access to this cannot be stopped. He can be a man in the middle also, or he can stop your access to your own system. So for example, you switch on your phone. The moment you switch on your phone, it should technically ask for the passcode. You enter the passcode. The screen was to display. Suddenly it will say your system has been compromised. Now what you do? You pick up your bike and go to a cyber cell. Then you will file a complaint who are also clueless what it is actually. Right? So that is how, see, the moment something happens like this ransomware, what has happened to your mood instantly? Understand? One is the data. Data you are worried on only two occasions. If you are rich or if you have done something wrong. Otherwise, naade friends wall number so understand, only if you are rich and only if you have done something wrong you are worried. Now in both the occasions you will be ready to pay money. Understand? So that is how they selectively are targeting this segment of the population across the globe, not across. Okay? You remember there is a word called for this white whaling. White whaling, it means a big fish. White whaling means a big fish. ठीक है? So big fish को पकड़ो. क्या UPSC? Other attacks, cyber attacks. We have this WannaCry also, no? WannaCry attack was also there, where our All India Institute of Medical Science Delhi, the entire database was lost, and 2022 also Air India database lost. Okay. The next article is on the policy for medical devices sector. Right? National medical devices policy came into play. Please just read 2 lines because the objective may come as a prelims bit. It says that it wants India to emerge as a global leader in the manufacturing and innovation of the medical devices last May by achieving 10 to 12% of share in the expanding global market over the next 25 years. And it is also expected to help the medical devices sector grow from $11 billion today to $50 billion by 2030. So next 8 years they have a plan that the export earnings to India from the medical devices sector should get minimum $50 billion. So this is the target plan that they are having. Couple of information. India is the 4th largest Asian medical devices market after Japan, China and South Korea. So the leading is Japan, followed by China and South Korea, and among the top 20 medical devices markets globally. So we are not only what we call 4th in the Asia, we are also in the top 20 when it comes to medical devices market in the world. And it was recognized as the sunrise sector of India under the Make in India. What is the sunrise sector?
Emerging, growing.
It has the capacity to grow. It has a capacity to grow, a new sector which has a capacity to grow. The moment the government classifies a particular sector as a sunrise sector, the investments to that particular sector coming becomes easier. So that is why the declaration of a particular sector as a sunrise sector is done by the government. The moment a sector is what you call declared as a sunrise, the people will get confidence in that sector and they will come forward. The angel investors, the venture capitalists, they will all come forward to support the sunrise industry in the market. Okay? The Supreme Court modified judgment on eco-sensitive zone. It basically cancelled its earlier judgment. If you remember last year, the mid of the last year, Supreme Court gave a what you call judgment that all these important controlled areas are your protected areas like national parks, wildlife sanctuaries and these protected forests, along the entire periphery of these protected forests. Say for example, this is your national park. Which is the nearest national park to this place? One more. थोड़ा आगे जाने से. The problem is we are completely unaware of our own surroundings. What happened last year? Supreme Court gave a judgment. 1 kilometer along this national park will become a ecological sensitive zone. Now listen to me carefully. This is not exclusive economic zone. Hello. That is completely different. This is ecologically sensitive zone. Now what happens is, what is the intention? To avoid man-animal conflict and biodiversity conflict. This is the intention. The government and certain state governments, the central government and certain state governments said that over a period of time, lot of settlements have happened here in the 1 kilometer stretch. Now, if suddenly because you have said that it is an ecological sensitive zone, I am forced to. You earlier said the intent is to reduce the man and animal conflict. It is actually resulting into man and animal conflict because I have to remove the men from there now because you have forced me to. So now the Supreme Court has said, okay, I am backing off from that judgment. So now that judgment need not be implemented in the true letter. So you need not implement in the true letter. So, see, judiciary is very intelligent. No? They did not say we are backing up. They said modified the judgment on ecological sensitive zones. On the previous judgment on 3rd of June 22, the Apex Court had ordered the 1 kilometer buffer zone for protected areas to act as a shock observer. So this 1 kilometer area was to be the buffer zone and to act as a shock observer. But the judgment gave shock to people. So that's all. Its judgment was to have mandatorily eco-sensitive zones of a minimum 1 kilometer around protected forests, the national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. However, the centre and the several states, including Kerala, had returned to the Supreme Court seeking modification of the judgment, saying the judicial direction affected hundreds of villages in the peripheries of the forest. The Apex Court's opinion agreed. The court said the purpose of declaring exclusive eco-sensitive zone is not to hamper the day-to-day activities of the citizens. If the direction as issued is continued, it would certainly hamper the day-to-day activities of the citizens residing in the eco-sensitive zones. As such, we find that the directions need to be modified. And how it modified? The Supreme Court bench reasoned that the ESZ cannot be uniform across the country and has to be protected area specific. The court said a stringent observance of the June 22 judgment would cause more harm than good, for one, man-animal conflict would only increase rather than abate. So, the Supreme Court said you need not in true letter implement this particular thing. Okay? Now, come to the eco-sensitive zone. Second point, all identified areas around protected areas, wildlife corridors to be declared as ecologically fragile under the Environmental Protection Act 1986 and the National Wildlife Action Plan 2002 to 2006. The eco-sensitive zones could go up to 10 kilometers around the protected area, can go up to 10 kilometers. In cases where sensitive corridors, connectivity and ecologically important patches crucial for landscape linkage are even beyond 10 kilometers width, Further, the eco-sensitive zones may not be uniform all around and it could be variable in width and the extent. So this was the observation given by the Supreme Court. The next article is on the recent incident, the left-wing extremism incident that happened in our country. Now, this article, my foundation class students will explain much better than me. Bolo. What is this tactical counter-offensive operations? I think I have explained this now. Tactical counter-offensive operations. Every year they will do it. Tactical counter-offensive operations. Offensive, counter-offensive. I told you, attack is the best form of defense. Attack is the best form of defense. If you feel that fellow might hit you, before he comes to hit you, you go to hit him. Because that is the best form of defense. Might chala dhairya mundra inti vachi mari go to hit. So understand. Don't do it. Hello. And then police station na pair rasi sarje pair class na pair. हाँ बोल.
Courage कावत.
We'll talk after the camera is on. So now, what the Maoists will do is, before the onset of monsoons, you see the entire history of the Maoist attacks. It had happened in the month of March, April and May. Major attacks, all major attacks where hundreds of civilian or the paramilitary forces have been victims. All these attacks have happened in March, April and May. The point is the June monsoons will come. Understand? These are the people who generally operate from the jungles. In the monsoon rains, it is extremely difficult to navigate through these tracks which are not proper blacktop roads like this. Today you would have seen the position of road, no? From your hostel till the institute. Some came swimming, some came in boat, some came in other ways. So even in a city, this is the state. So what will happen to a far flung area? Obviously no track, no nothing. So the moment these people carry out operations in the month of April and May, the security forces have to respond by carrying out counter-offensive operations. But the atmosphere and the layout of the ground will not support them to do it. Now, what these people are doing then? In the entire monsoon, these people are busy in recruitment, these people are busy in training, these people are busy in making other plans for the next year. So that is how, before the government strikes, they will strike the government. That is why it is called tactical counter-offensive operations. Tactical because the timing is planned by them, the place is planned by them. So that is why it is called tactical counter-offensive operations. Year after year, the results have been coming positive for the LW, not for the government. It means that, see, when understand this, see, the biggest problem with the LW, if you remember, in probably one of the current affairs classes, I even told you, just because they are lying dogo or lying low or they inactive does not mean that they do not have the capacity to strike at will. They have the capacity. Surgical strikes, हम बात करते हैं surgical strike. That's why it is said surgical strike, because the capacity to carry out an attack without disturbing the surroundings. It is called a surgical strike, right? So these people also have the strike capability to strike at will, strike at the place and time of their choice. And it is said that with only preliminary recce, they could carry out this particular attack successfully. It only showcases the complacency by the forces. It means they all felt कि अब तो नक्सलिज्म खत्म हो गया, अब तो हम जीत गए. So but it is not so. It is not so. Understand? LWE will remain to be a problem for long time to come. So the next article is on Mahila Samman Saving Certificate Account. इसमें 2-3 dimensions are important. One is the dimension that any Mahila can open an account for any Mahila also, but it will be held on a single name only. There is no joint certificate being given. If you see the point, who can open a Mahila Samman savings account? Any woman can open a Mahila Samman account that can be opened for herself or on behalf of a little girl. And the limit is minimum 1000, maximum 2000. There is also interest payment 7.5% annually, and the maturity is after 2 years from the date opening. Eligible balance will be paid to the depositor. Now, can anybody tell me what is the penultimate intent of the government in this scheme?
Financial security.
You all are big failure. The government wants to make money, get money. In this sense, understand. The moment you release a certificate saying 7.5% interest, positive dimension. The moment you add women dimension, second positive dimension. The government intelligently gets lot of. It has to pay interest after 2 years. क्या पता 24 पे जीत के आएगा भी नहीं. That's what I'm saying. Start thinking like bureaucrats. तुम वो भेड़ चाल से बाहर निकलो. Social security and all ये कहने की बात है. I'm not denying this. I'm not saying it is not there. But the moment schemes like this are introduced, people have to put money. No, people will put money. What is the intent? The intent is to bring the money into the channel, to bring the money into the system. जो पैसा तुम जो घर में पोपल डब्बा में रख रहे हो, that should come to the government. That is the intention. That we try to understand. So bringing in money into the system is basically the intent of the government. Whenever the flow of money gets disturbed, these kind of schemes will be launched by the government. Okay? So though all the dimensions are correct what you said, but these kind of schemes do bring lot of money to the government, because 7.5% is a huge, interest percentage. Though there is a cap of 2 lakh rupees also, right? And withdrawal is allowed after 1 year. 40% you can withdraw after 1 year, and the premature closure of account is also possible. They have given the circumstances when all you can, when the account holder herself, not himself in this case, herself dies, or on the extreme compassionate grounds like life-threatening disease, that fellow, the death of the guardian on production of the relevant death certificate, and when an account is closed prematurely, interest on the principal amount is payable at the rate applicable to the scheme. Very important thing. It is not that you will have to forego the interest. No. Whatever is the interest as on that particular day, that interest will be paid to you. Okay? Now, next, what is this? Preparedness and resilience for emerging threats initiative. This is basically related to, again, one more article related to WHO. Preparedness. Now what they are saying, earlier we were not prepared. Now we want to be prepared. We will all wear uniform and be prepared to fight a threat. So that's what it says, preparedness and resilience for emerging threats. Again, understand what it says. The World Health Organization has launched a new initiative to be better prepared for future outbreaks of a similar scale and devastation as the COVID-19 pandemic. So one conference was held in Geneva, Switzerland. The meeting was Global Meeting for Future Respiratory Pathogen Pandemics, that was held in Geneva, Switzerland. So in this meeting, they said that the preparedness and resilience for emerging threats is aimed at providing guidance on integrated planning for responding to any respiratory pathogen such as influenza or coronavirus. Why? Because if you see the next paragraph, immediate focus of the mission, it says that there is a possible threat of an avian influenza outbreak work is already underway to assess what should be the next group of pathogens to be mitigated under this initiative. So indirectly, the WHO is telling, please be prepared for a COVID-like situation once again. Please be prepared. Indirectly, it is trying to tell. Right? Now, come to
Even though China is having a COVID situation right now, but other countries are not responding to that. To the WHO is responsible for to outbreak or they have to.
see, that's what. The moment something goes wrong in the security dimension of the world, you all look at United Nations and you say in UN, the UN Security Council is responsible for maintaining the global peace and all. But when it comes to health related crisis, this fellow should respond. The moment it is health related crisis, this fellow should respond. Now, I told you this fellow is now funded by not other countries, everybody is contributing, but one of the maximum contribution is coming from China. If the health hazard is coming from China, will this guy open his mouth?
Sir, do we think that changes should happen in the WHO?
China should happen.
Yes. The reforms have to happen in the WHO.
Yes, very much. When see, that's what I see. Understand, the biggest reform in the world that should happen is these organizations should be funded equally by everybody. The moment you create dependence on him on couple of countries, if you create dependence on this entity from couple of countries, what will happen is something going wrong in this couple of countries, this fellow will keep his mouth shut. Because he knows कि मेरा प्रिंटर का पैसा, मेरा व्हाइट पेपर खरीदने का पैसा, रिसर्च करने का पैसा यहीं से आता है. And in my research, if I say this fellow is responsible, he will stop sending me money. Simple. The moment you create a dependency of any organization on that country, that organization will become complacent to the threats emanating from that country. Exactly happened here. That's the reason why when we talk about World Bank reforms, you talk about IMF reforms, you talk about WTO reforms, this is the biggest challenge. Because the resource allocation does not showcase the contemporary world order. India being one of the Asia में fourth largest, world में 20th में तुम बात कर रहे हो medical devices sector की, but the contribution of India to WHO is nowhere. It means that a country has become a front runner in a particular sector which is directly under this particular organization without any say. That is the reason why एक कफ सिरप टाइम पे मिला है, तुम साला न्यूज़ बना देते हो उसको, पर जहाँ से कोविड आया तुमने किसी को रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं खड़ा किया. So that's how things will become unbalanced. Right? Okay? Very important. The last line of this particular article, in the economic survey 2022, the India's public expenditure on healthcare stood at 2.1% of the GDP in 2021-22 against 1.8 in 2020-21 and 1.3 2019 and 2020. It means that in the last 3 years, the India's public expenditure on healthcare is constantly increasing. Please make a note for prelims. Very important that it is constantly increasing. 1.3 से 1.8, 1.8 से 2.1. So it is increasing. Okay. The increase is also constant 0.3%. 0.5 हुआ फिर 0.3 हुआ है ना. Good. Next, army to raise command cyber operations and support wings. Okay, क्या कर रहे हैं लोग? Command cyber operations and support wings. Okay. See, now cyber warfare is becoming a domain of warfare in itself. Earlier we used to say land is a theater, water is a theater, air space is a theater. Then we suddenly said space is also a theater. Now it is said that cyberspace is also a theater of operations. So earlier we were fighting on land, the soldiers were fighting, then we fought on water also, the navy was fighting, then we fought in the air where the the air force was fighting, then we took the battle to space when the satellites and all those things happened. Now we are saying the battle is in the cyber space. So in one of the conferences that is known as Army Commanders Conference, basically Army Commanders Conference is a very senior officers of the army. They sit together and talk about the future of the battlefield. So in one of the army conferences, Army Commanders Conference, they said that cyberspace is the next thing that we need to take. Now, what they say is, it is not only at the highest level, even at the lowest level also cyberspace can be deployed as a theater of operation. How? Say for example, this is your post, and this is the enemy that you are looking at. You have an equipment called, say for example, there is an equipment called LOROS, Long Range Recce and Observation System. Okay? Now, this system has some technical components. I can use cyberspace as a thing. I can infect this particular system and ensure that it does not give correct coordinates or make it inefficient. I can do this. So this cyberspace as a threat need not emanate on a bigger theater of operation, also in a smaller theater of operations. Cyber warfare can be used. Like your radio signals can be jammed, your communication equipment can be jammed, your GPS systems can be jammed using the cyberspace. So that is what they are saying. What they say, the ACC had decided to operationalize the command cyber operations and support wings in the immediate future. So what they are saying, we will have a separate wing that will be responsible for this only. Now, to augment this, to fasten this process, they made one major suggestion. There is a entry system in the army called Technical Entry Scheme, TES. What the army people do is, they take the intermediate people, MPC background people, as a technical entry scheme, and the army will only get their graduation done in BTech. Now, instead of 4 years of BTech, these people will be completing their 3 years in BTech, and the last 1 year they will go to IMA for the basic military training. So it means that they are trying to reduce this time gap so that more and more cyber warriors can be created. The way enemy is trying to attack my system, I will use this technical entry scheme people to nurture them as cyber warriors so that I can also launch a cyber attack on the enemies the way enemy is trying to launch a cyber attack on me. That is the crux of this particular article, right? Please read through the article about the Cyber Army Commanders Conference. It is an apex level biannual event. मतलब साल में 2 बार होता है, ठीक है? Now, very important from the governance point of view. Juvenile, Juvenile. Juvenile is a person, anybody who is less than 18 years of age. Now, what the government is contemplating is, if anybody is there between the age of 16 to 18, generally the crimes are known to be petty offences, serious offences and heinous offences. These are the 3 types of offences generally anybody can commit. Okay? Not coming to the class regularly is a petty. Okay? Not coming to the class regularly and regularity is maintained is a serious offense. The regularity of not coming to the class is a serious offense. Okay? Now when it will become the heinous offense?
Not coming.
When it will become the heinous offense?
Coming in and asking.
When your father comes to know, he takes the belt and starts beating you, it will become a heinous offense. Okay? So try to understand. What the article is saying is that if any juvenile in the bracket of 16 to 18 years is found to have committed a heinous offense. Heinous offense includes offences related to murder, offences related to rape and certain other offences also. Okay? If a juvenile in the bracket of 16 to 18 commits an offence, a particular exercise will be carried out to see what is his mental stage. It means basically trying to see does he understand the implications of these offences or not. If it is found that his mental age, I spoke about this mental age, no? Biological age and mental age into 100 is equal to IQ. If it is found that his mental age gave him an indication that the crime that he is committing, what are the implications of that crime, what are the fallouts of the crime, what are the legal outcomes of those crimes, he can be charged with serious offences. If he had this idea at the time of commission of an offence, despite the fact that he is a juvenile, he will be tried as an adult. We had a classic example of Nirbhaya case, no? One fellow got escaped because of couple of months short of 18 months of age. So when others were hanged to death, this fellow is walking freely in the what you call world today because 5 साल का जो उसको punishment मिला था, he's completed those 5 years. So now he is roaming freely in the world as if nothing, he has not done any crime. So now learning from that exposure, from that experience, the government was contemplating to bring certain changes in the Juvenile Justice Act. So now it has come up with a recommendation that any juvenile in the bracket of 16 to 18, if he is being found to have committed any heinous or what you call offence, which may be murder or rape, a particular test will be conducted on him individually to find out his mental age. Mental age is basically nothing but at the time of commissioning of an offence, whether this fellow had the understanding what will be the fallouts, what will be the legal implications. If it is found that he had complete knowledge of what he is doing and what could be the implications, instead of a juvenile, he will be tried as an adult. So it is a positive move. It is a positive move. Okay? Section 18(3), please read through it. Anything we have discussed today, anybody has to ask, please ask.
So in respect of juvenile cases, does it applicable to the POCSO case? From the perspective of juvenile cases, can apply this to the POCSO as well?
Applied to the POCSO Act. Post facto. No other.
Child and sexual abuse.
See,
it was prescribed as 18 years. POCSO itself prescribed 18.
yeah. Now understand, this act is basically protecting the children from sexual, and we said the moment it is protecting the children from sexual offence. For example, two people are there, both are children. 18 is a factor. He is 17 and a half, she is 16 and a half. He and she committed a crime. What happens? Sexual offence. Though the POCSO Act was basically devised or designed to protect the children from adults, but there is a high probability that the children can be victims of other children also, the act of other children also. Now if you bring in this element here, what will happen? Treated as? Understand? But they have to confirm. It is you and I believe. Maybe the government may not believe it, because it is only related to sexual offences, may not lead to to this stage. That's why here the categorization is heinous crime. So if it is heinous, maybe in future, maybe 6 months down the line, if this works well, some justice, see, penultimate aim is meeting the end justice. If the government feels yes, it is maintaining end justice, not only this, there are other certain child related acts. They will try to in fact reduce the definition of the child from 18 to 16. They will gradually go. So this is called stepping up. So they are trying to step up. They have started with heinous. Gradually maybe they will put it to serious also. Maybe. Then gradually other kinds of acts where the children have to be protected, the government may bring in similar legislative corrections. See, penultimate aim is what? Justice has to be done. So if the government feels, okay, he had at this age also the understanding, if he was 16 and she was just 3, just imagine, very, very bad situation, right? So these kind of offences have to be, see, in the criminal law, that's the reason why what happens is, any correction in the law has to be very carefully brought. If in a hurry you bring the correction in a criminal setup, then it will have lot of legal implications. It will unnecessarily create an atmosphere of police state in the society. That's not the intention. The intention is people should behave well in the society. So too much of legislative interference in the societal matters is also not considered to be good. Okay? So maybe the government wants to see it for some time, then probably bring in certain corrections here. We'll have to just wait. Abhi to hua hai. Let some incident happen, how the government, see, understand, till such time, see, if you have a good lawyer, he can take you out. If you have a bad lawyer, he'll push you. Simple as, okay. If you have a good lawyer, you won't tell him, Bhaiya, maine kiya hai galat kaam, I have murdered Mr. XYZ, this is the bag containing amount of money which I also don't know, it is yours but I should not go in. This is the statement by the money holder to the lawyer. Now it is the lawyer's responsibility to find all the loopholes in the system. That is, understand, your CRPC is CRPC. P is very important. Criminal Procedure Code. The entire Criminal Procedure Code is dependent on one fulcrum. The fulcrum is the procedure should not have been deviated at any stage of investigation. From the stage of filing complaint se leke end tak, anywhere the procedure has been halted or bypassed, the entire ruling comes to a standstill. So the lawyer will try to find out कि हुआ क्या था. One, he needs just one this thing. The moment say police people came to the colony where these people were what you call residing. The police entered the colony, did the investigation, went back. The lawyer will intelligently go to the gate. He will take a copy of the in-out register. The police people did not make an entry in the register kept at the gate. The investigation carried out by the police is null and khatam. So understand, in the CRPC, the following of procedure is very, very important. So that is where people will find flaw. Isme bhi we'll have to see how it works out. Then we'll see. I told you the immoral act, non-moral act, the dimension of non-moral. I told you any crime committed by a child less than 7 years old cannot be punished by law. That is the reason why these terrorists use children below the age of 7, because they do not know what they are doing. You cannot punish the child for his act, no matter even if it is a heinous crime below 7. Now you are telling the child has to be redefined to 16. So the child welfare association wale ki to baat karenge. They are also there, no? Child welfare association NGOs are there. How can you say that the child is a child till 18? So they will have their own fight. We will have to see how things open, but it will happen.